There was a time when the voice of God disappeared. No more prophets, no more visions, no more miracles. For 400 years, the heavens remained silent. But why? What happened between the last prophet in the Old Testament and the arrival of Jesus? The last prophet to speak was Malachi, who warned the people of Israel. He told them, "A great day is coming, but first, the Lord will send his messenger." Then suddenly, nothing. The world changed. Empires rose, kingdoms fell, and through it all, God's people waited, but the silence remained. In the days of Malachi, Israel had returned from exile. They had rebuilt the temple, but something was missing. They had the temple, but not the presence of God. They had priests, but no prophets. The people were tired. They asked, "Where is the God of our ancestors? Why doesn't he speak like before?" But God had already spoken, and he was waiting. Time passed. A new empire rose. The Greeks. Alexander the Great conquered the world, spreading Greek culture everywhere. Suddenly, God's people were surrounded by foreign gods, new philosophies, and a world that didn't look like the Israel of old. The Jewish people struggled. Some embraced Greek culture. Others resisted, clinging to their faith. But still, no prophet came, no voice from heaven. Then came one of the darkest moments. A Greek ruler named Antiochus IV Epiphanes took over. He stormed into the temple, mocked the God of Israel, and sacrificed a pig on the altar. An insult so great, it shook the Jewish people to their core. That was enough. One family, the Maccabees, rose up. They fought back, reclaiming the temple. It was a small victory, but it gave hope. And yet, God was still silent. Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, a new empire appeared, the Romans. They were powerful, ruthless, and unstoppable. They placed a cruel leader, Herod the Great, over Judea. He was a man filled with ambition and fear. The people of Israel cried out for a Messiah, someone to save them. And that's when, after 400 years of silence, something began to stir. God was about to speak again. The world had been waiting. The heavens had been silent. But now, something was stirring. A star had appeared in the sky. A king had been born. And in the distance, danger was approaching. After months of travel, the wise men arrived in Jerusalem. Their eyes scanned the busy streets. The people bustled about their daily lives, unaware of the news these men carried. They asked one question: "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." King Herod the Great, the most ruthless ruler Judea had ever seen, froze at the words. A king? A child born to take his place? His hands clenched the golden armrest of his throne. He would not allow it. Herod summoned the chief priests and teachers of the law. "Where is this Messiah supposed to be born?" he demanded. The scholars hesitated. Then one of them stepped forward and unrolled an ancient scroll. He read the words of the prophet Micah. "But you, Bethlehem, out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Herod's eyes darkened. That night, Herod summoned the wise men in secret. He hid his fear behind a smile. "Go to Bethlehem," he said, "and search carefully for the child. When you find him, come back and tell me, so that I too may go and worship him." The wise men nodded, but they did not see the evil glint in Herod's eye. As they left Jerusalem, Herod's mind was already plotting. If this child was truly a king, then there was only one way to deal with him: eliminate the threat. The star continued to guide them. Mile after mile, they traveled toward the small, quiet town of Bethlehem, and with every step, they grew closer to the most important moment in history. The wise men traveled under the cover of night, their eyes fixed on the brilliant star that led the way. They had seen kings and rulers before, but this was different. This was not just any king. This was the one the heavens themselves had announced. Finally, the star stopped. Not over a palace, not over a fortress, but over a simple house in the small town of Bethlehem. The wise men looked at one another. This was it. They had reached the place where the newborn king had been found. Their fine robes brushed against the dusty ground as they approached. Then, gently, they knocked on the door. As the door opened, their breath caught. There he was, the promised king, the Messiah, but he was not what the world expected. No golden crown, no royal robes, no palace, just a child, held in the arms of his mother. Yet in his eyes there was something different, something that made these powerful wise men fall to their knees. One by one they presented their gifts. Gold, a gift for a king; frankincense, a gift for a priest; myrrh, a gift for sacrifice. They didn't understand everything, but they knew one thing for certain. This child was unlike any other. That night, as they rested, something strange happened. A dream, a warning. "Do not return to Herod." Something was wrong. Herod didn't want to worship this child. He wanted to destroy him. Before the sun rose, they made their decision. They would not go back to Jerusalem. They would take another road home. Meanwhile, back in Jerusalem, Herod was waiting. Days passed, then weeks. No sign of the wise men. Herod's patience was running out. And when he finally realized that he had been deceived, his rage would unleash one of the darkest moments in history. For 400 years, the world waited. People wondered if God had forgotten them. But the truth was, God had never stopped working. In the silence, he was preparing. Even when it seemed like he was absent, he was setting the stage for something greater. And when the time was right, he spoke again. The story of Jesus' birth is a reminder that God's timing is perfect. Even in the moments of silence, even when we don't understand, he is always working behind the scenes. The king had come, and the world would never be the same.